Jeff Jackson, welcome to the Gas Compression Podcast.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to introduce you here. Jeff is a lead field tech at Kodiak Gas Services, and you're in Oklahoma City. Is that right?
We're based out of Edmond. My area is a little bit northwest of OKC.
Okay. So before we dive into what you're doing, all that, tell me, how'd you get here? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? How'd you end up as a lead tech at Kodiak?
I didn't have any experience in natural gas compression. I spent the first 10 years of my life working in a auto repair shop. Kind of always had a knack for mechanical stuff. It just wasn't where I was wanting to go. I had a bunch of friends that are always, trying to get me to go to the oil field and do this and do that. And we had a pretty good slowdown there around 2007, I believe. And I kind of made a decision to, go to the oil field and try it out. I worked at a well servicing place in Elk City, Oklahoma for a few years, just working on all kinds of equipment as far as like pulling units, forklifts, trucks, a little bit of everything. Once again, kind of faced with another slowdown and some pay cuts. And I had some people, suggest gas compression to me, and like, it's pretty steady work. So it's not as wild as, the service industry of the oil field. So I threw my application out there to a couple of places, and I got picked up at a Mid-Con Compression out of Elk City. And like I said, I had no experience in the field whatsoever when I started, and worked with a great group of guys there that, there was tons of experience. There was always, somebody to help you out. If you had any questions or weren't sure, there's always somebody to answer the phone for you. Worked with them guys for a while. Kind of the same deal, some stuff, some buyouts and sell-offs and stuff like that happened here and there. And I ended up out in the Texas Panhandle for USA for a while. Worked for them for almost a year. That's where I started picking up most of my bigger horsepower experience with like 3600s and 35s. That's basically all I had over there. Worked for them for a while. Once again, sell-offs, buyouts, all that good stuff came through, and had opportunity to uproot from Western Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle area, and moved to Central Oklahoma. We landed in Mustang, and I started working for Mark West out of Kingfisher. We worked there for about 2.5, 3 years, and I got a LinkedIn message one day from who's now my regional manager here at Kodiak, and kind of gave me the lowdown on what they had going on, and I was pretty intrigued with the way they operated, and going on 3 years now, and here I am.
Okay, well let's talk a little bit about Kodiak, because on LinkedIn it says that the Kodiak's the largest privately held natural gas servicing company. I mean,
Yes,
is that still the case?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we have over 2.5 million horsepower right now.
2.6 million horsepower.
I was close. Okay. Yeah. So, we try to keep everything in the field running at all times. We don't like stuff sitting along the yard. Try to keep our customers hooked up.
So tell me about, even on LinkedIn, it says there's a 98% mechanical availability guarantee. So
yeah, that's when I said that I was kind of intrigued with what they had going on. When I heard that, I was like, that's impossible. It's difficult. It's a challenge, but it's definitely possible. We hit it month in and out. My area right now, I think we have 172 units on the ground. And if we miss runtime, it's a very, very rare instance. And it's typically some type of like maybe a parts failure where we couldn't get parts, couldn't source them. That's typically would be the only reason we would miss runtime. We do first call on everything. The customers absolutely love that, of course. I mean,
Oh
we
yeah.
do the load off of that for them. So, I mean, customer service is a huge deal, but I mean, taking care of the equipment, it's a nonstop process. I mean, it's a constant. There's always something to do. That's what I like about it. I mean, where we stay hooked up.
Well, can I ask you a few questions on how you're doing that? So, would you say it's because you guys have a killer PM program? Is it because you've got a great just warehouse full of equipment that you're swapping out if something goes down, or are you working with awesome vendors that are keeping things going?
There's quite a few moving parts that go into keeping that runtime like it is. We have saddle alarms on all of our units. So the instant something goes down, we know what it is. We can take a look at it. You can tell if it's a customer related issue where you're going to have to go out there and maybe make some adjustments, clean suction screen, whatever.
Right.
If you see like a lube no flow or whatever, you might be able to stop by the warehouse and grab, a handful of parts that would typically, be involved in that. So, I mean, it gives you a kind of a good idea of what you're up against. Once we get on location, we assess, whatever it is. If it is a mechanical failure and we need parts, we have a parts team that's on call 24/7, just like we are. We have connexes out in the field where, your most commonly used parts are readily available. So, I mean, you're always within 20, 30 miles of being able to grab, your most common stuff. Our parts team, I mean, they have connections with great vendors. I mean, if they've got them lined up, if one vendor is unable to provide, they're on to the next one. Just there's literally no delay on getting parts. Like as soon as you make the call, give them what you need, the ball's rolling. You can go on about tearing down or whatever you need to do, and usually by the time you're done, you're getting a phone call like, "Hey, where do you need them?" So,
man,
I mean, with the last year and a half with the pandemic, it's kind of thrown a little bit of a curveball at us with some of that stuff. I mean, like I said, sometimes parts just aren't available, or we can't source them. So, like I said, we're always looking for ways to improve that. If it's getting it somewhere else or a different part or whatever. So that's usually how we operate on as far as parts.
that's awesome. I love the privately held companies. You guys are not a small company by any means, but it seems like the privately held companies can do things like guarantee this kind of runtime and make changes and adjustments quickly on the fly to be able to do that. That's cool. I don't think I've heard that heard of that publicly. I think I've heard that from other service companies that will say like, they'll tell their customers this, but I mean, you guys got it right there on your LinkedIn page. Like, here's what we promise. So going back to the parts thing you just mentioned, are you seeing any issues with supply chain stuff that you're having a hard time getting a hold of?
We've had some issues with some PM parts as far as filters and spark plugs, stuff like that. But it's just been a small hiccup. It hasn't really affected us in the field because, like I said, our parts team, once they recognize that, they instantly move somewhere else. Let's get something else lined up, backup plans. So, I mean, it hasn't hit us as far as being able to take care of our job. It's created some challenges for our parts department, but I mean, they handled it. They knocked it out of the park. So,
well, on staying on the vendors thing. So, I'm in the machine shop business, and so I want to ask you a couple questions from our side of the fence, and I want you to be completely honest. You have to outsource some of that stuff. You guys can't do it all, and so when you're using machine shops, when you're using rebuild shops, how can we do a better job? So there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are in your position that are sending work out to guys like us. And that's what I want to ask is, how can the machine shops and the vendors out there do a better job for you guys out in the field?
I think from like our position out in the field, I mean, all I care about is speed and quality. I mean, I want it right now, and I want it to be, perfect, no issues. Let's get this thing back together. I mean, that's what everybody wants, right?
So hold on, before you go any further. So you've heard this old adage, it's like you can have it fast, or you can have it cheap, or you can, that old saying, like you can't have it all three. So in your opinion, is it better to have it fast and right and price is not a big a deal as long as it's, let's get it right? Or are you trying to just source the best, cheapest deal you can get?
For us, I mean, in our exact situation, I would say price would be the least concern. Sure. I mean,
it's got to be right.
With our guarantee, it's got to be right. I mean, you look at 98%, I mean, you're talking 15, 16 hours of downtime a month. I mean, that's cutting it close. I mean, if you show up, you made a 4-hour trip with the wrong or, something that doesn't quite fit, you're like, well, clock's ticking. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So any specific things you want to say to the vendors out there in the machine shop, in the rebuild world? Like, hey, I wish you guys would do this or stop doing that or whatever. Anything that bugs you? No,
not really. I've used a ton of different vendors, and I mean, most of the time you get what you're after, and I can't really think of anything that that would irk me or that I've had too many issues with that weren't just a fluke deal.
Sure. So your office is in Edmond, and your area is northwest of Oklahoma City. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. I call it Stack, Kingfisher, Canadian County.
Sure.
Yep.
So what is you got 172 units. What is your fleet like? What kind of packages do you have, and what kind of compression do you have?
99% of it is Cat aerial. We have a few Geminis out there, smaller packages, but Cat aerial. And that's, I mean, for people in this area, that's kind of a sales point when people say, you got quality equipment, the best you can get. So,
yeah. I we just released a podcast yesterday. I had a guy, he's in Pennsylvania, and he's heading up the first Cat aerial school. So Caterpillar and Aerial came together, and he's, I can't remember the name of the college, Central Pennsylvania University or something, I think, but he's the director of this college that Cat Aerial came together, and it's like it's a natural gas compression school, and you graduate as a technician, and you've got an actual Aerial 1 and 2 certificate to go out and start working. And I asked him, I said, well, what about other compression? And he said, there is no other compression, So you said you got a few Geminis. I mean, are you, as someone who's out there leading people, do you have everyone that you need in terms of hiring wise? Are you having trouble finding people to come and work, or how's the hiring situation in Oklahoma?
Right now, I mean, it's, we typically, we like to run lean for, certain reasons.
Sure.
When I had several friends throughout the industry that were, during the pandemic, when it first started, I mean, there were guys that were, calling me like, hey man, I've been cut to like 30 something hours a week. Are y'all hiring? I'm like, well, we're still running and gunning because we do run so lean. So we had that little bit of a cushion to kind of fall back on, to where we weren't sending guys home, still taking care of stuff. So that was kind of nice, to kind of have that almost a guarantee that, we were going to be working throughout that. It's pretty wild right now. It takes a special kind of person to kind of fill the technician role at Kodiak. Like I said, I mean, you're on call. We guarantee that runtime. It's kind of a almost like a cowboyish type deal over here. I mean, we thrive on, customer service and, getting it right. So, I think the hiring pool is pretty good right now, but like you said, with that university deal, I mean, that's great. I think that, no matter how far we get with automation, I mean, we're always going to need technicians. And I think that that's something that would be great. I think that'll be a great asset to our industry.
Yeah.
Like that, to kind of keep feeding that iron pull. Because, you don't see a lot of like really old guys in the field. Most of them try to, get onto something that's a little bit easier on you physically. And we constantly need those younger people to come up, and it's nice to, have them go through something like that and, kind of have some experience in the way that things work on the equipment they're going to be working on, kind of give them a head start. So that's going to make it easier on everybody.
What is that school? There's a school in, is it
Mogi?
Okomogi?
Mogi.
Mogi.
Yep.
Do you guys have any, does Kodiak have any relationship to them? You guys having any conversations with that school or about getting people in there and getting them hired?
I think we do like their job fairs down there, go down there and put on presentations. But as far as like any kind of direct relations, I don't think we have anything like that right now. A company I used to work for, they did send some of our seasoned veterans down there to put on classes sometimes, like specific classes for like alignments and, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I know some of those guys kind of floated in and out of there. And I think that was just, to kind of tie the industry to the company or whatever. Just
for your information, they're this guy, Andrew Brill at CPI, they send out people in between their first and second year. They send them out to basically intern in companies all over the country, not just in Pennsylvania, but all over the country. It's a really great incentive for companies like Kodiak that would be looking for maybe a 2 or 3 month deal where they come and work. And if you don't like them, you don't have to keep them kind of deal. But Andrew said it's been a really cool program that if you're just looking to maybe get some help for the summer, you can reach out to him and get on a list. And if especially people are from that area, they'd love to come intern and learn something from Kodiak. So keep that in mind if you're looking to hire people, because I think that'd be a great way for companies like Kodiak to get to meet younger people and try them out, not necessarily have to hire them long term, but get to try it out.
Right.
So would you say that your formal on the job training came when you were at Mark West there in Kingfisher?
I would say that my gas compression started, with Midcon. Like I said, I got thrown into that deal, didn't clue what I was getting into, and they were one of the companies that were sending people to classes to provide them with that CAT specific training, the aerial specific training, in devices, panels, stuff like that. So I really, really got saturated with information when I was there. And I mean, some of it didn't, really sink in until, further on down the road. And I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about. So, as a younger guy, that's kind of the way it is sometimes. But
well, kind of shifting, looking forward. So oil, as of today, oil's $80 a barrel. Natural gas is pretty high. How does that outlook? I mean, do you guys internally at Kodiak, you talking about that or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the last couple months, drilling rigs are popping back up everywhere. We're seeing a lot of workover rigs on, wells that were marginal, and some of those, they need compression on them to really make them come around. And it's getting to where it's profitable for companies to start setting small units, gas lift units on old wells, that weren't quite cutting the mustard, a few months ago, but now that price is getting up there to where, it's working for them. So we've actually, in the last couple of months, we've set some small horsepower units, like 200 horsepower and below, on some wells that were, 5, 6, 7 years old that, have been, just kind of shut in and kind of waiting for the right time. And that time's now. So we're steadily, even, in what some people consider a downturn, we're steadily adding horsepower to the ground there. So it's been great for us.
Yeah. I think to say that we're still in a downturn. It may be okay, but I think we're definitely on an upward swing, right?
Yeah. Yep. Hopefully.
So Kodiak has locations all over the country, mostly concentrated in South Texas. I saw. Is that right?
Yes.
And you guys go up. How far north do you go?
I'm pretty sure we got some stuff up in Wyoming right now.
Yeah.
That is as far as we've got.
Do you share a lot of resources with the other locations? Or are you kind of doing your own thing there in Oklahoma?
It's wide open. Like as far as moving units and stuff, our sales team, if a unit comes available and it's in New Mexico and we need it in Dover, Oklahoma, boom, it's on a truck headed that way.
Nice.
If somebody calls needing oddball piston for a compressor and we have it in Edmond warehouse and it needs to, go to Bridgeport, Texas, boom, it's on the way. So, I mean, it's kind of like a family deal. I mean, like you said, with a small privately held company, we're able to do stuff like that. So, I mean, we're not in everybody's business all the time, but everybody knows what's going on throughout the company.
Man, that's great. Now, where are you from originally?
Originally from Western Oklahoma, raised there my entire life. And it's like I said, I think 2007 is when I actually got in the oil and gas industry. Graduated from a little town in Western Oklahoma called Canute back in 1998. Just worked and lived around there my entire life. And like I said, due to some buy-offs and sell-offs and all that fun stuff that comes with the territory, I ended up in Central Oklahoma, and now Mustang's home for us.
Well, for a pretty serious question, is it OU or OSU?
Man, I'm kind of torn. I've been a big OU fan my entire life. In the natural gas industry, like you said, that old Mogi deal, that's a OSU. That's an OSU score right there. And I mean, I think that's great what they're doing, feeding the industry. But I mean, I gotta say Boomer Sooner.
Okay. I still have to this day never seen such a rivalry. I got a neighbor lives across the street. He went to OU and his wife went to OSU. And it is it's hilarious. So
it gets pretty intense.
Still never seen. Yeah, and you bring up the fact that OU's leaving the Big 12. And now OSU is saying that it's really crazy. I've never seen a rivalry like it. So
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anything else you want to add, Jeff? I really appreciate this. Kind of learn about Kodiak and hadn't talked to anybody in Central or Western Oklahoma yet. So anything you want to add or?
No, man. When this popped up, I was like, that's kind of a cool deal. Because I mean, I listen to different podcasts, and I actually the first one I listened to. I was trying to think of the guy's name, Bunky.
Yeah.
I actually went to school with that dude down in Cleburne one time. I was like, hey,
come on.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, before we leave, is there anything we can do on the podcast that would be helpful for you in what you do in asking questions, bringing guests on? What would help you? Just kind of hearing the stories?
Yeah, I like the stories. I like the sharing information and, different experiences. I think, just listen to that stuff, sometimes it hits home and sometimes you're like, wow, I never thought of stuff like that. So I just enjoy listening to, people talk and, their different experiences.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Jeff.
Yes,
I'm sure our paths will cross soon. And if there's anything we can do, reach out to us, let us know.
Yes, sir. Will do. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.